new figures on economic growth.
Yeah, the Chinese economy grew at an annualised rate of 7.4% in the first 3 months of this year. It's the lowest rate, in fact, seen in the past 18 months, but still better than had been expected. Some cause for cheer there. Now, you can see from these figures it does represent a slowdown on the figures seen in China in recent months. The challenge for the Chinese government ahead. There had been some speculation that poor economic growth figures may lead to another round of stimulus. Well, that's the question that I put earlier to our correspondent in Beijing, Shannon Van Sant.
Well, China unveiled a small stimulus just a couple of weeks ago. That included more financing for infrastructure projects. It also included public housing plans, as well as financing for small businesses. And Xinhua, the state news agency, said that China had no plans to unveil a big stimulus plan in the near future. But economists here, many of them are warning that if China doesn't make some very serious reforms within the next 2 to 3 years to its economy, it could face a crash or a hard landing, and those reforms including reforming its shadow banking or illegal banking system, trying to stem what may be a growing real estate bubble, as well as trying to rein in local debt at the local government level. So China has a number of things it needs to do pretty quickly in order to keep its economy on track and growing at some measurable pace.
Let's take a look at how the markets reacted to that news. There was no great disappointment, actually, in evidence when those figures came through. You can see the Shanghai Composite in the green, and also the Hang Seng in Hong Kong too. A much brighter picture, though, over in Tokyo, where the Nikkei is up over 2.5%. That's being driven by SoftBank, which is up over 8% after the Chinese e-commerce giant Alibaba reported a huge jump in its earnings. SoftBank owns some 37% of that company. And actually, Alibaba, there was more news from them today as well. The Reuters news agency is reporting that its long-awaited stock market debut could be announced as early as next week. The IPO, which is set to take place in New York, would be worth as much as $16 billion, the biggest, in fact, since Facebook. Another big stakeholder in Alibaba is Yahoo, and their results released on Tuesday showed that Alibaba's revenues soared by 2/3 at the end of 2013. So a really big stock market flotation looks looming at this stage, Rochelle.
Well, here in France next, and a controversial proposal to change the minimum wage for young people, Stephen.
Yeah, that's right. In France at the moment, the minimum wage is the same no matter what age you are, but with youth unemployment remaining stubbornly over 20%, the country's main business lobby has suggested that introducing a lower minimum salary for young people could be a good idea. It's a controversial proposal, though. Efforts to bring in less secure work contracts for young people back in 2006 ended with mass protests. Catherine Clifford has more on this story.
A new plan to reduce youth unemployment. France's main business lobby wants to cut the minimum wage.
It's better for someone to work, even if it's a bit below the minimum wage temporarily during a transitional period, rather than be unemployed. We have to put everything on the table. Nothing can be taboo.
Guterres found an unexpected ally in the former head of the World Trade Organization, Pascal Lamy.
At this level of unemployment, we have to move towards more flexibility and to levels that are not necessarily at the current minimum wage.
At the job centre, young people were divided.
If it's below the minimum wage, given you've got rent, food shopping, no.
That could help to encourage bosses to hire more young people. We should try it, so long as it's not abused.
There is one minimum wage for people of all ages in France. It currently stands at €1,445. That's a bit more than in Germany, below that of Ireland, and much higher than in Spain and Portugal. The Workers' Party is among those who are opposed.
If I follow the logic of Mr. Gassas, he might as well take on slaves. He won't pay them at all, and that way he'll be competitive.
2 previous attempts to shake up youth employment triggered mass protests. On both occasions, the proposals were withdrawn. On Tuesday, the French government said it too is opposed.
And finally, Amazon's come up with an interesting way of boosting morale amongst its staff.
Yeah, that's right. The firm's offering payments of up to $5,000 to warehouse workers in the United States to leave the company if they're not happy. So those working at Amazon for less than a year can get up to $2,000. That goes up by $1,000 a year, up to a maximum of $5,000, depending on how long you've worked there. Amazon's made this offer to workers in a letter entitled, "Please don't accept this offer." The Amazon CEO, Jeff Bezos, says that the goal is to encourage folks to take a moment and think about what they really want. He said that in the long run, an employee that's not happy in their work should be given the option to leave, because he thinks it's healthy both for the company and for the workers themselves. Amazon is still hiring staff in these factories, though, so it's not a case of trying to reduce the staff numbers, but they have had quite a lot of criticism over the working conditions in their warehouses, so this might be a way of clearing out those people who aren't happy.
Definitely an interesting take there. All right, Stephen Carroll, thanks very much for that business update. It's time now for a look at what's grabbing the headlines. Good morning to you, Flo.
Good morning.
Now, first of all, let's start with the